Hey, don't you just love when sometimes a video game just goes, yeah, that. When a video game knows how to use silence. And I'm not talking about pure silence, no sound. I mean moments where there's no loud music or excessive talking, just pure ambience and atmosphere. Maybe it'd have been more accurate to say games that know how to be quiet, but I like the impact of silence more. At least for now, in my opinion, video games should make better use of their ambience. And it depends on the game for sure. Like, you wouldn't expect Mario Kart or Overcooked to need to be quiet because, well, they don't need to. These games are providing a different experience. But there are definitely other games where it'd be really helpful to be quiet, like immersive open world games. Genshin Impact is one of the biggest offenders for me for always playing something. And let me just first say I love Genshin's soundtrack. Hayomix and Yu Peng Chen, listed composers for Genshin, have been like my listened to artists on Spotify for 3 years running now. But I really don't want to hear their music playing every single minute, every single hour, no matter where I step. Especially when sometimes I just want to soak in that atmosphere. And when open world games are trying to be immersive, they really should be focusing on this quiet ambience. Because it's amazing to soak into a world and it's doing everything right with not only what you see, but what you hear. Take, for example, the ambience of Skyrim. I'm sure that Skyrim, one of the most well-known open world RPGs of all time, doesn't need much of an introduction. I'm sure a bunch of you sitting there already know exactly the point I'm about to bring up. Skyrim's ambience is amazing. It really is one of those games where you could just lose yourself forever. The massive open world riddled with bird chirps, flowing water, and rustling leaves. Each region has their own set of sounds to them, and there's probably some people that could tell where they are in Skyrim just based on the sounds alone. Combine this with mods that could make the game even more immersive, and you have a timeless classic that really knows how to make such a beautiful atmosphere. What you're seeing isn't even using any mods. This is vanilla Skyrim. Chosen because I see setting mods up, but the game's designers already put so much effort into making this feel so vivid, so much fantasy that for a moment you really feel like you're there. I could go on and on about other games that just do their ambience well. Minecraft's simple soundtrack that complements its clicks and steps. Zelda and most Nintendo games really, with the crazy effort that goes into the UI, SFX, and ambient tracks. Tears of the Kingdom has completely different variations for each type of gear you're wearing, for each type of terrain you're walking on. Like, there's hundreds of thousands of individual noises for all this. Dead Space, Subnautica, The Witcher, Soma, the list goes on and on. Because at the end of the day, silence makes the music more impactful.
It's funny for me. I played these games, and I actually thought the one of the aesthetic problems with a lot of games was there was this habit of having wall-to-wall music. Music had more power when it wasn't being used all the time. So that was my first approach was music shouldn't be playing all the time.
This is Martin O'Donnell, best known as the composer and sound designer for the original Halo trilogy. And the music, as well as sound design for Halo, is one of the best in video game history. There's plenty of other coverage with more detail on why Halo's sound design works so well, but a key point is that music isn't playing all the time. And in a lot of ways, the music in Halo works so well for its storytelling. When you've been in a certain section or part for a while, the music will eventually fade away. And when you progress more into the game, the music will play again. It doesn't need to directly tell you, hey, time for action again, because you can feel it. Video games should be using music to communicate their story to the player. Because sometimes the music isn't just a presence of sound or notes, but the silence in between. There are so many video games where a track is famous, even though it really only plays once. But people remember, because it's the impact that matters. I think there's still plenty of room for video games to use silence, especially for narrative-driven games. And this is something you can really take from other mediums, where there's many moments where the audio just goes practically silent. Like Naruto, most of Final Fight between Naruto and Sasuke is done in silence. They feel every punch, every breath, that tense atmosphere. Whether they're throwing their huge freaking ninja powers, or even when they drop down and just throwing hands, you can really feel it. But when the flight's climax reaches and the music comes in as they prepare their final resorts, it's amazing. It feels so epic because you've been built towards this moment. The story can cash in all its emotional payoffs along with the music you now deserve to hear. Any medium with audio just has an amazing opportunity to be silent. And so, yeah, I hope game developers continue to experiment just with what they can do with the absence of sound, where sometimes less is more.